All right, we're live. Okay, so here we are. Thank you everyone for being here today. I'm really excited to have all of you here join me. We're here to talk about the benefits of being a mentor with RaShelle Roberts, and I'm just very excited to have her here today. A little bit of background why we're doing this video. It's part of the Evolve AIGA mentorship program. We decided to entice the participants to be part of the program by offering professional development and tools and webinars to kind of enhance their mentorship experience and help them make the program as turnkey as possible. And so this video here is one of those making good on that promise. So thank you guys for joining me and being here to make good on that promise. So let me introduce our special guest today. Our special guest today, RaShelle Roberts, is the founder of RaShelleRoberts.com, previously known as InVision. And RaShelle specializes in coaching creative professionals. She's been a professional coach for 17 years. And prior to that, she successfully ran a design studio in Southern California, correct?
Yep.
She's been recognized in the industry around the globe for her unique ability to develop flexible, innovative programs that fit the needs of each client. She's developed the Creative Business Manifesto, which is a creative course for creatives to design a personalized plan and lays a solid foundation to run a solo business with longevity, sustainability, and strength. RaShelle's workshops have been featured in the How Design Conference, as well as the AIGA San Diego Y Conference, where I first saw RaShelle speak. And she's been a contributor for the Self-Promo issue, the Business Annual for How Magazine, and has been an active member of the creative community and sat on several AIGA boards. I could go on and on and on. And she's an accomplished mixed media artist on top of all this, and she does a lot more, which I'm sure she'll share with you. Thank you for joining us, RaShelle Roberts.
Thanks, Eric, for having me be here. I
You're welcome.
It. My introduction. I'm amazed to hear my own introduction. Thank you.
No, thanks for being part of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me introduce quickly our panel of participants that are here to join you, RaShelle. Really quickly, we have Gabrielle Romberger, who is a creative director and the founder of ePost Inc., an award-winning small agency that uses strategy and design to breathe new life into brands. So that we have Gabrielle Romberger here.
Hello.
Next to Gabrielle, we have Aaron Glean. Aaron is a freelance or independent graphic designer and art director. He's a visual storyteller and community leader, and he can be found on gleanhouse.com. He's a former AIGA programming co-chair and a member of the mentorship committee, and he lists himself as a gun for hire, and that is armed with a Wacom pen tablet. So there's Mr. Aaron Glean. And you got me. So
right on.
So yeah, I'm Eric Martinez. I'm a designer, director, educator, arts advocate, soccer dad, coffee addict, music geek. I work under the name Ambidextrous Studio, where I specialize in interactive design and branding for purpose-driven startups. So that's me. So thank you all for being here again.
Thank you, Eric.
And hopefully I'm not fumbling through your introductions.
You know, Eric, can I just say something? As one, I'm really inspired by this whole program. I just want to say that, and that this is coming to fruition. So it's really awesome to watch this happen, and the steps forward of this mentorship program. It's really an awesome program. So
thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's been, as Aaron can tell you, a lot of meetings and a lot of work and a lot of planning and a lot of fumbling, and we're still fumbling, but you know, we're getting up and doing things, you know, as best we can. And so yeah, it's pretty awesome to get it together. So shall we get started?
Absolutely.
So I thought I'd pass it along to you, RaShelle, and I thought I'd open it up with asking you, what do you feel are some of the key or critical elements of a good or successful mentorship program?
Great question. When we preparing for this, I've been thinking a lot about, what does that mean? And first, when you were kind of introducing and talking about the program, it made me really think of how often younger designers who are going off on their own, or they want to take a big step, or even being in the industry, there's a lot of kind of unknowns and a lot of trying something and then not doing so well, and then especially in this industry, because creatives, we love to do it our own way, yet we still want some kind of direction. And I love this program of sharing information and openly helping others and guide them. So I think the foundation of it all is just the desire to be genuinely a community, and for more of the seasoned people, within the chapter, to step up and really share information. So that, I think, is the foundation. I'm getting a lot of feedback. Can you hear that?
Yeah, I am too. Maybe someone can lower their volume if you have your iPad or your iPhone.
Or whoever's not talking can mute. That might help.
So your mute is on the top.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. That happens sometimes. Anyway, okay, so that's first is just the opportunity for the seasoned designers to share information. That is the core, obviously. But I think for me, after coaching for all this time, what has been consistent in my coaching programs, and that I find people have the most value, is a lot of times people come to me and say, well, how much do I charge? Or what kind of clients should I really be working with? Or what type of time tracking system? Very logistical questions, which absolutely I think are extremely important and should be addressed, absolutely. And what I've found is that before any of those pieces can really be understood fully, is to have a foundation of knowing who you are, what you're about, and what you really genuinely want your business to look and feel like. And ultimately, that's called the vision statement out there in the world. And so that's where I really start, and I think has been the foundation for every bit of what I do as a coach, and will address all of those other pieces, all of the logistical kind of ins and outs that happen with running a business, but most of all, like the foundation of everything that we do, and you know that, Eric, and our interactions, is that without a really clear vision, it's just kind of, you're building on top of just more things to do. It's just more on your to-do list. Versus when you help someone get really clear about those things of who they are, what they want, how they want their business to be run, how much money they want to make, all of those logistical pieces of a clear vision, it sets the tone for what comes next. And here's the thing, is that each person as a creative, is that when you go to, say, we'll just use like as a dentist's office, is that pretty much you go to a dentist and it's pretty much set up the same way, the way they handle the people that walk in, the way they run their business, how they make follow-up phone calls. There's just a system. When it comes to a creative business, all that kind of setup doesn't really happen. We jump in, and as maybe a freelancer, or for one reason or another, you went off on your own, and now you're just winging it. You're just happy that people are coming to you and you're getting paid. So at a certain point, we all hit this, like, okay, I'm excited that I get to do what I love, and we're kind of on a hamster wheel, and we ultimately we all kind of hit the spot of going, I'm just I'm get caught in there's got to be something a little bit more than just doing work. There's got to be a point to it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that making sense?
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
I mean, the vision
yeah.
statement part is, makes a really good sense. The way it
Right.
seems to, I tend to look at it, it's kind of like an anchor, and you're a boat, and the work and the things that pull the tide is always trying to pull you away to do other things. There's always a deadline, or there's a client request, or there's always another project to always drift you off into another direction. But your vision statement helps keep you from pulling back to getting pulled too far, and it helps rein you back home when those times where you feel completely overwhelmed and you don't know what to do next. You fall back on, okay, well, what is it that I wanted to do? Where did I want to go with this business, or where do I want to go with this project? It definitely ties you down.
Absolutely. And the other part of that too is that in any type of mentorship program, in guidance, in for me, when I coach someone, ultimately understanding, I think a lot of times we're afraid to say what we really want because we're afraid it won't happen. The point of guidance or receiving any type of direction is to help you get what you ultimately want, not just to get by. So if we don't really own some facet of, I really want X, Y, and Z, then we tend to flounder. And so as a mentor, to encourage each person that they're interacting with to get clear about that, whether it doesn't matter where they're at in their career, but and the other part of that is, and it may sound very cliche, but if we don't write these pieces down, it just spins around in our head. And it's a nice idea, and some days we may feel totally in line with that and lit up, and other days we may feel like, I don't know why I'm even doing this. Where am I going? I'm just overwhelmed with client requests or deadlines. And the bottom line is that without some sort of written form of what it is that we want as far as a plan, which includes a vision and goals and strategies, we're just kind of floundering. And we may have a certain level of success, and that's great. But if we really want to take it to the level that we know inside our heart that ultimately we can feel that we want, that is what brings movement. So I would encourage all the mentors to guide who are the mentees to writing these things down, not just kind of talking about it, but they put the work, their thoughts, on paper, so that it gives them some sort of structure. Because again, as part of the industry, it's ideas. It's coming up with constantly new. We have to come up with new ideas.
Right.
So
right.
if we're already in that process, if we don't write things down, it just kind of gets in the mix, right?
Correct. Yeah. So it sounds, creating a vision helps create the structure for your mentorship program. It sets a solid foundation. It sounds like what I'm getting, and you lay the cement by writing it down. It sounds like.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So you also talked about, you mentioned accountability as being a key element. Can you touch upon how you use accountability in your coaching and how we can use it as mentors here?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. A couple things when I was thinking about the mentorship program is that, and again, it may be a no-brainer, but the mentors are giving their time and their energy, and if there's no sense of kind of urgency or structure from the mentees that the time is valuable, then I just think that that's a really important piece, and a huge piece of the accountability is that these mentors that's extremely valuable to receive that kind of input and feedback from the mentors. Mm-hmm. So I think the first piece is the accountability part, is that if they're going to meet with them once a week, or if they're going to meet with them every other week, or whatever that structure is that really works for them, doesn't matter what it is, but that there's a level of integrity to it, obviously, and that the mentees get that the mentors are taking their time and energy. And the same, it goes both ways. So that's one. And then the other part is, what I find with clients is, because they know that they're meeting with me and that we're having a discussion about specific, say they had, from our first conversation, that they had some level of homework or a project that they were going to work on and do it in a different way, or write their marketing strategy, whatever it may be, that they show up in the call with the homework done. And otherwise, if a client doesn't do that for me, then a lot of times we'll reschedule. And people, it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
It doesn't. And not like it's like, putting the crack in the whip, but at the same time, as a mentor, kind of, it's a little uncomfortable sometimes. As a coach, I gotta, part of that is willing to call people out on their own stuff, including myself. If I make a mistake, or if I'm not doing something that I agreed to, I call myself out on it, because that's, freedom, and that's accountability, and that moves something forward.
Right.
And so I think that whatever kind of structure that the mentors are giving, that there's a level of integrity to it, and that each person really keeps their agreement. I think that that's overall, kind of a no-brainer, but I think it's really important. Eric's
Yeah,
right.
that reminds me of, like, when I've taught classes or courses before, and you have some students that tend to do the work in between the courses, and then you have a small collection of students that are always trying to do the work in the class during lecture. And those students are always seen like the ones that are not really growing, they're just playing catch up the entire time. So I think if you really want to get the growth in anything, whether it's mentorship or a class you're taking, it's like important to invest the time in between each session. So yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Right. Well, and the other piece that we talked about a while ago when we talked about doing this, is that our industry has the highest, or the
Retirement.
Yes, thank you. Retirement is the earliest retirement of industries, and the statistics show that because of deadlines and kind of using our adrenaline, we tap out on our adrenaline. At a certain point, our bodies can't deal with it, mentally, emotionally, physically. And I think that as mentors, I'm sure that they deal with that, and they know exactly what I'm talking about. And how do we help younger, up-and-coming designers have more balance, have more of a grip? Because without that structure, because here's the thing, is that clients are only going to value and give respect if we're showing them how to do that. And a lot of times we have demanding clients and we want to get paid, and so we meet what they say. But I think as an up-and-coming to younger designers, or wherever they're at, it's that there's a certain level of responsibility and accountability to the welfare of each person. That's a pretty intense fact. I mean, that's a strong statistic that we're in an industry that has the earliest retirement, because the deadlines take a toll. That's the bottom line. And so go ahead.
So every time you say that, that always it jolts me, a little bit. I'm sure I'm looking at the other faces, and they all kind of nodded when you talked about that as well. How do we remedy that? Can you remedy that? And Gabrielle, I know that you've been in the industry for quite a while. How do you remedy that?
Well, I think students come into this mindset of deadlines from school. They have a lot of projects going on at once, so they're used to pulling all-nighters and all of that, and they bring that same mindset into their new business. I think at this point they have to shift and realize, let's create a 9-to-5 kind of structure, and when a client gives them a deadline, they need to come back with the authority saying, in order to meet this proposal, directive, whatever project, here's what it's going to look like from a time frame. I'm not going to give it to you in 2 days. I'm going to give it to you in 2 weeks. And they need to educate the client of their working hours, what to expect, because if they don't, it'll fall into that same adrenaline downward spiral. So it's up to them to set the parameters. And if they're confident in their timeline, the client will respect that, because they'll understand that they're coming from a place of experience and knowledge. Now, hopefully, they'll have some of that if they're just starting out from a mentor or someone else who can help them structure their time that way, because they won't know how to do that in the beginning. And I think that's one thing we can help them to set up. Like RaShelle said in the beginning, the dentist's office has certain hours, and so should the design studio. And the overtime and the pulling all-nighters should be the exception, not the rule. And I think that's what what I did in the beginning was the exception became the rule. I did do crazy hours because I wanted to please the client, and I realized that codependent behavior just didn't serve anyone. It didn't serve me, it didn't serve the designers, it didn't serve the client. And once a structure was created and held up, the workflow was better, the work outcome was better, the client was better, and then I attracted better clients. I attracted clients who were also on that same schedule. They didn't want to work weekends and evenings to approve things either. So the more grown up we become, the more grown up our clients, we attract those type of clients to us.
Oh, that's so well said. Sorry, Erica. That you said it beautifully. Yes, exactly. And I think part of that too is that we're now in an age where we're starting to value our health and well-being in a new way. And it's true. The only way that we're going to give that to ourselves is if we create that structure. And our industry just doesn't come with those guidelines. We can talk about it a little bit here and there, and it sounds like a great idea, but ultimately we, as creative solo or agency, running a firm, that if we don't put that as the foundation of who we are and what we're about, it creates. I imagine this. I'll never forget. I met David Berman, who work and have kind of seen him grow and write his book over the last several years, 10 years, and he wrote Do Good Design, and that was part of what he was saying is that we're designers here. We make a precedence. We lay an industry standard for not only what gets out there in the world, but how people interact with us. And so if one person is doing it a certain way and teaching the client, I just think it becomes more of a communal, like instead of just about you doing your business that way, you can think of it as, you know what, this is our community, and if I don't stand for that as a community, including myself, then I'm setting a precedence in our whole industry of what people can expect.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah.
I think the more structured we become in that way and teach others to be that same way, the more we seem professional. I think the younger coming straight out of school will do whatever to get the job, and that says something about who they are and how they value their business. And I used to think that, oh God, if I don't do it this way, that I'm not going to get another job, or this client will fire me if I don't lay down rules. And just the opposite happened. The respect level, and they looked to me for answers then, as opposed to me trying to please them. And I became the authority. And I think that's what clients want. They want you to guide the process on every level, deadlines, creative.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, this is. I always use the term of of are you a partner or are you an order taker?
Yes.
Right? Right.
Mhm.
Like when we're in order taking mode, we're just at the beck and call. But when we're a genuine partner, it's a different experience for everybody. And like you just said, is they need help. Imagine like they're dealing with this. It's overwhelming running a business, period. So to have that support, I just think it's just like having an accountant or a lawyer or whatever, the partners in your business. I see the same thing as a design strategist, is that it's a partnership ultimately. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I mean, once you feel the difference between being a partner and an order taker, it's very hard to go back to being an order taker.
Yeah.
There's definitely
Versus gourmet, who wants a burger when you can have a nice, lovely meal.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Erin, is there any ways that you remedy being burnt out or staying in the game?
Probably talking to more or talking to other designers. Sometimes it's nice to be able to have an outlet to vent and have somebody understand exactly what you're going through. Yeah, just talking with other friends of mine that are designers that have other situations, but I don't know, just kind of going through a transition with myself from going from in-house to freelance. That I mean, most of the time I end up like taking breaks and walks, like you guys said, setting hours for your clients, letting them know, hey, I work from like 9 to 5 or whatever, and then on occasion having to do an all-nighter, make it rare. Don't constantly do that to please your client. So, and you're right, because like a lot of my clients get it when I tell them like, I'm kind of working from 9 to 5, and I'm going on vacation this day and this day, or something. So, yeah, it's kind of funny because like even with that, because I'm still new at freelance, it's been like about 9-10 months. That I still have that mentality of trying to like have an all-nighter.
Always being on.
Yeah, but because my clients are kind of up to speed on my time, like they really don't contact me after 6 o'clock. So, yeah, so it's kind of nice. So it's kind of nice not to be able to have to do that stuff, but yeah, usually just to remedy stuff, I talk to friends, I take breaks. If I know it's a slow day, I try to take advantage of a slow day to go do something else. So that's usually how I do it to try to prevent from getting burnt out.
Well, and right there, Erin, that is another point, is that because we're accessing that creative realm, that is over and over, right? That's part of being in this industry, is that we have to tune into that part of us that is creative, but we also have to be running a business. And so I think when we honor that creative part of ourselves is kind of, it's more, it comes from a place, sorry, the feedback is distracting me, so I'm having a hard time thinking.
It might be on Mr. Aaron's.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry. Accessing that part of us, even though it's natural and it's just, it comes, that's who we are, if we're always tapping into that place of urgency, of not having a certain level of structure for whether it's we're in-house, we're running our own, whatever it may be, that we don't have some level of guidelines, some level of self-respect, some level of structure, then tuning into that place that comes up with the ideas and that creates so freely, it begins to kind of shut down, and we kind of almost feel less inspired, less creative, or we're not producing our best work. So I think that's when I work with somebody, and you know what, Eric, you and I talked about this, is I do, so to the mentors, this may be a really great place to start, is I do this thing called a toleration list. And what that is I say, make a list of 10 things that you're tolerating right now. And what I mean by that is it's not just, I'm talking, it could be, I want people to look at their life, not just at work. I want them to be like, okay, I need to handle, like I had one client who his garage, he wanted to turn it into his office, and he just kept putting it off. So that was something on his list. To a client that had to deal with taxes, to you could be tolerating the behavior of one of your clients. You could be tolerating that you always are putting off your billing, and you get 3 months behind. So make a list of things that you're tolerating. It could be little, big, whatever it is. Something that you're putting up with or putting off. And what that does is we kind of create this mental dump, and almost like it's a relief to say, you know what, this is the stuff that I'm not dealing with. And that has been the place that I start with every client, is doing kind of a cleaning kind of that clutter part of our lives. And it doesn't mean we write them down and it's all handled. It just means if a mentor really wants to get the best out of somebody, clear some of this stuff, give them the accountability. Okay, you know what, the time that we're going to meet over this, however long the mentorship is, I want you to take one of those things off your list, or give them something that's active and again has that level of accountability, that they're kind of cleaning the pathway. Eric, you and I talked about this. What did you love about that?
Well, I think what I loved about it is that it made me step back, and when you introduced the topic, I remember I liked it, but at the same time I was like, well, I'm good. I mean, that sounds like great, but I'm good, But then I really thought about it, and I'm like, well, I guess I am tolerating this, and then that kind of cascaded into other things, and then I'm like, I really don't like the way the office looks right now. I want it to feel more creative, and so yeah, and so I have now a different looking office, which I love to be here every day, and it feels very creative, and I have things that I enjoy that get me, as you say, juiced and excited for the day, and that's made all the difference. And once I made that list, I mean, it was kind of demoralizing because it was like my list grew very long, like a Star Wars scroll, but it got really exciting to, like, some of them are very small, and I actually enjoyed saying, I'm going to get rid of this today, I'm going to get rid of that today, I'm going to get rid of this today, and I'm going to get rid of that, So some of them took a while, some of them I'm still working on, but I think it helps bring things that we don't realize are holding us back to the forefront, and I really enjoyed that. Like, I didn't even know some of these things were an issue.
Right.
Well, good idea, RaShelle. I love that idea about that list.
Right?
Yes.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, because here's the thing: we're all human, and especially because as creatives, we access that part of ourselves on a daily basis. If there's a lot of clutter, and truthfully, for the mentors, if they want to get the best out of their mentees, it doesn't mean you have to be like this massive coach. It's just, as a mentor, give a couple little nuggets, because that's what I ultimately want to leave clients with: tools that they can access for forever. That they're ongoing. And I'll do a toleration list from time to time. Like, okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed or kind of stagnant. What is going on? So I'll just dump. I'll just make my own list of, like, and it's not it's different than a to-do list. It's
give our audience an example.
Pardon?
Give our audience an example of what you mean.
So, okay, I'll give you an example of one of my clients recently. I haven't raised my rates, even though I know I should. I'm behind on my taxes. My office is uninspiring, and I'm working in a space that I want it to look a certain way, but I just don't put the time and effort and energy. And here's what happens for me is a lot of times it'll be like I don't have the time or I don't have the money or I don't whatever. That's we always have that excuse. that's always going to be there. But when we commit, like, you know what, I'm done with this space looking like this. I saw Eric transform that space behind, like where it is now. We went through a whole all these steps of like, wait a minute, this space does not serve me. And it could be just a simple, I need a new desk, or I just need something. It's tiny things, but they make an enormous impact on, because day to day we have our to-do list of get this proposal out, finish that project, pick up my kids, whatever, right? But a toleration list is more of the larger things that we just keep putting off, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and they make a big difference. I mean, it's
right?
like, it's tough. You resist it because you're like, I know that the space is important. I know I have it on the list, but I want to make some money, But transforming your space, having a space that you enjoy being in, that you have a little bit more bounce in your step, a lot more energy, it feeds into everything. So I mean, again, I'm repeating myself, but it's just like something that is holding you back or just gives you a big boost that you didn't even realize it. And some of them are so simple, it's like ridiculous. So.
Well, and another piece of that too that I think is important and is that as running and having a career or running a business as a creative, we're like I've said this a few times of we're tapping into that part of ourselves that's creative, we need inspiration to stay kind of engaged and produce the best work, our best work. So a lot of times we take for granted the simplest things of maybe sometimes I have clients who haven't painted or drawn or done something creative outside of their work environment for years, months, whatever. And so I try to get to the basic parts of who you are as a creative, and whether it's your office needs attention or whatever it may be, it's not a luxury to go and paint like you used to. To me, it's more of it's mandatory. And the reason why is because if we're not exercising and reinvigorating that creative self, it dries up. And so if we give some structure to it, whether it's structure in our business of how we run things or structure to accomplishing things that need attention, we start filling up that creative reserve again instead of always tapping, like using it. We use it as if it's always going to be there, but then all of a sudden we feel burned out and worn out. So I think bringing my goal is always to marriage the business and the creative, that we have to honor the creative and we have to have clear business structure that works for us genuinely. And I think for everybody that I work with, every person works different. So I try to have kind of an arsenal of tools for the business, or understanding how each person really genuinely wants to run their business, along with nurturing that creative self. So I think that there's a marriage that needs to happen. It's not one or the other.
Right. So I mean, that's all great stuff. I mean, again, the tolerance thing is a very powerful tool that you use. One of the things that I think I liked a lot about the way you coached, and when I saw you talk at the Y conference, that was something that you brought upon, and it's just like, wow, that's very powerful. So we talked about the components of vision and structure, and you touched about accountability. Then you also wanted to talk about boundaries, which I feel like we touched upon already.
Yeah.
Then you briefly, right now, you talked about not having enough time to do these things and not having the time. And when I talk to mentors or read through the applications for the mentees, time is one of the biggest things that you see, not having enough time to do this, or not having the time to invest in the mentorship program, or not, there's a time crunch that everyone is challenged with. I mean, how do you deal with that in your coaching practice, and how can us as mentors deal with that?
Well, how I deal with that is what I get to the core of what people are really committed to. And when somebody's really committed to something, they move mountains. Time no longer becomes a factor. I think time is like, just like money, it's an easy go-to. And I get it. Most of us, I mean, I run a business. I'm a single mother. I have 2 kids, and I homeschool one of them. Like, I get the time factor. I get it. And what I find is when I'm massively committed to something, time kind of shifts around that commitment. And I would say to the mentors and the mentees is that that's how you can tell if somebody's really committed and that they're valuing your time, is that they show up, that commitment, that they are really committed. And you know, recently I was listening to something, and I don't recall what it was, but it was all about being able to kind of that whole time management idea. The truth is we can't necessarily manage our time. But what you notice that when you are getting ready for vacation, that you get so much done. You are so inspired, you can't wait to get on vacation, and you accomplish like that big laundry list of things gets done magically, or most of it, right?
Right.
Well, here's the thing, is that if we were that engaged in what we were doing, and we were lit up and truly passionate and committed, time stands still. I'm not saying literally, but like we are able to do things that we didn't think we could. And so I think instead of trying to figure out, well, where are we going to fit that time, it's what are you really committed to? What do you really want here with your business? What do you really want with your clients? What do you want out of this mentorship program? And that's when we continually bring forward the commitment, which is also why I'm so big on creating a clear vision, is that ultimately we may get scared, we may get freaked out, and we may deal with all that, the slew of mental, mind, the mental game, and ultimately it comes back to what are we really committed to. And that is how I feel like I deal with my clients, because everybody has a time thing on some way or another. And so it really comes back to saying, so as a mentor, I think the tool is reminding them of their commitment. Well, let's go back. That's the point. Let's go back and let's remember, why are we doing this? Why is this important? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Do you guys have anything? How do you guys find time, Gabrielle and Erin, to get some of the extra things done that you want to do? Like to make, there's always client-driven requests, but how do you guys deal with the things that move your business forward?
Well, I'm a big proponent of scheduling. I stick with my calendar. Once I put it in the calendar, if somebody wants to use that time slot, sorry, it's not available, how about this one? And I schedule my personal time into my calendar. So it might be an hour of take a walk or, have a cup of tea or whatever it is, but everything gets scheduled. With me, it's usually watching a movie. That's my favorite thing to relax. And then I don't move things around. I used to move things around, and I've learned that that's stupid for me. That people know we're busy, and when they want some of my time, I tell them when a slot is open. And I'll do the same thing like with the mentorship thing. That commitment thing that RaShelle talked about is important. What's the purpose? Why are we doing this? And why are we committed to it or not? And there's a lot of things I'm committed to in my life. My drawings are really important. My work, my cleaning the house, there's so many buckets, and I just make sure that all of them get equal attention, and then I stay with it. So it's all prioritizing and scheduling, and then sticking with it, and don't change it. Unless there's emergency, of course, but But be true to what I want to do, and what, or speaking to the person, be true with what you want to do. Somebody once told me, if you do what's right in your heart of hearts for you, it's right for everyone, everywhere. So when I'm true to myself and I say yes to something or no to something that maybe somebody's pressuring me to do, it's for my greater good and it's for theirs as well. So I have to be real honest. It's RaShelle even said in the very beginning, know yourself. You have to know who you are and what you want to do. What is your personal commitment in life? What do you want to get out of life? And that all needs to be scheduled. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Gabrielle, I love what you just said, because I mean, that is, I'm big on scheduling as well, and that comes down to, a lot of times I work with clients in having them designate kind of when are they actually doing the work, when are they doing their marketing, when are they, and if we kind of schedule those things out, I know it's hard. I know you get emails and requests and all that stuff. It's the day-to-day kind of email requests, but if there are some level of time blocks, whether it's personal time or no matter what I'm going to take, like for me, I take Mondays. I never see clients on Mondays. I've had that as my that's the way I've worked for 17 years. Yeah. Every client I work with knows that, right? So I think some level of scheduling and making the time and set, I love that. So I just wanted to reiterate. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably about the same. What I do too is I stick to my calendar, write everything down, and make sure that, like you said, if that time slot is taken, it's taken, Mm-hmm. So, and if I have to reschedule somebody else's stuff for what's on my calendar, then that's where it just has to be. Like if a client pops up and says, I want noon to 1, but noon to 1's lunch, so we'll just have to do it 2 to 3, or or if another client has that slot, then we just let them know up front, hey, this time works better. So, but yeah, sticking to the calendar really helps. And then I know a lot of people have like to-do lists and stuff, but usually they make them digital, and that's the one thing I try not to do anymore, and actually write it on paper. So my to-do list also gets scheduled. So I'll write my to-do list on paper and also schedule it in my calendar, so I'll get notifications to let me know if this is due, or So yeah, really sticking to a schedule does the trick for me as well.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I write things down. I have to use the calendar. I use every combination of things to keep me in line, and I also use my wife to kind of crack the whip when I'm blowing off my own schedule. So whatever I need to stay on schedule, I definitely employ recklessly. So,
Eric, can I add just one more thing to that? Yeah. And I don't mean to interrupt you, but just it's valid. Is one of my techniques as a coach, and this could be helpful for the mentors, is there's going to be things that they may walk away and the mentor may have them work on. Well, what I find to be most effective, because we are busy, is if there's a new way of maybe handling a client, if there's a boundary that is they've realized they really want to, like my schedule is from 9 to 5. So what I find to be most effective is that I'll have the homework or whatever new way of doing something, that it's really integrated into their week, versus that they have to add something more to do. I just try to look at what's already going on and how can they do it in a better, more effective way.
Oops. Sorry, I was tapping the screen.
Okay. So that's something that I find is a really great tool, because a lot of people, when they come to me, or I think as a mentor, like we're talking about time, well, let's integrate the homework or the new input or whatever they learned.
Sorry.
It's okay. Into their into their already schedule, so that they're going to go about their work and just do it in a different way. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. So sorry to interrupt with the flash photography. I was trying to capture the screen, and I didn't think it would be a paparazzi style. So, and then I tried to close it and did it again. So, yes, no worries. So we're getting close to the last few minutes here, and so I had a list of other questions to ask you, but tying it back to the title of the call, the benefits of being a mentor. What are some of the things that you've learned or benefited from in your coaching or mentoring practice?
The number one is that I am learning and receiving just as much as my clients. That it is a give and receive. There is no I'm giving and they're receiving. It's reciprocity. That whatever I'm dealing with in my life usually shows up on some level in the dynamic of coaching someone or mentoring someone, is that it's just as much. I find so much satisfaction myself that's why I coach, is that it really just keeps giving, and although I'm showing up as kind of the expert, I get that, and as the student or the recipient, the mentee, the client, whatever you want to call it, they're giving just as much as it's just full circle. I've stayed in this industry for so long because of that, because I'm always learning, I'm always growing, and it's a gift to be a mentor or a coach.
Do you feel it's enhanced your practice as an artist or a designer?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't actively design anymore. I paint and create that way, and as a coach, yeah, I mean, it enhances every day. I feel like I learn something new, or it gives back to me in some way or another. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, whenever I've taught courses, design courses, I end up feeling like, wow, I know I'm teaching this class, but man, I'm learning so many things that I've forgotten, or I didn't even know Illustrator could do this stuff. So you learn so many things that teaching. They said if the best way to learn something is teaching, or mentoring it and stuff like that, and it just definitely sounds cliche, but it definitely holds up to be true.
It's true. Yeah.
So we have a few more minutes, and I know that I wanted to turn it over to questions for Aaron or Gabrielle if they had any for you relating to mentorship. Are there any questions that you guys wanted to pass along or that you had in mind for RaShelle regarding the mentorship? If not, I can go.
Go ahead.
Okay. So this one might be a little bit of a tough one, but how do you help someone or mentor someone who seems stuck? Simply.
Well, at first, I will definitely give it. You can feel when people don't want to grow. You can feel it. There's like this. There's a sense of when they're stuck. Here's the thing: is I think people are either stuck and they're ready to move forward, or they're stuck and they want to stay stuck. And I think as a mentor, you've got to kind of get underneath that and understand and get a sense. And sometimes it may be uncomfortable to ask, but if you're getting a sense that they're not willing to move forward, I think you have to be straight with them about that. That's the only way I've ever been able to deal with a client, is if they're owning that they're stuck, but what they're not owning maybe is that they want to stay stuck. And so I put it back over on them. If you're ready to move forward, if you are open and ready to take the steps to stop being stuck, then we have somewhere to work. We have a way of working together. But if you aren't, then this opportunity should go to somebody else who really does want to move forward. And I think kind of leaving that with them and letting them decide, you know, maybe a little bit of space. It doesn't have to be confrontational. It just, the question, it has to, you can feel when somebody, you can feel the difference between somebody who's stuck and they're scared, or they're stuck and they want to stay stuck. They're committed to that. They may not, saying that, you know, they may not know that, but on some level you have to kind of put that back on them to deal with.
So in the case of being stuck and being afraid, how do you get them to deal with that?
I think
put that back on them in that instance too, or is there ways of encouraging them to face that fear or get past that?
Well, yeah, I mean, here's the thing in mentoring, there's a lot of logistical things that we can do that are very tangible. And then there's that part in all of us is tuning into another human being. That's the real gift. Is mentoring, coaching, whatever it may be, is that you're tuning in and getting to know and understand this other person. And in doing that, we all have a sense of what's going on. So if I'm feeling something that could be going on with a client, I say, this is what I'm sensing. Is that true? Am I on, or am I missing it? Like, I check in with them of, are you just afraid? I'm point blank. We'll ask, are you afraid? Are you just, you don't see a way out? You feel resigned? Or it's like, you know, yeah, this all sounds great, but I don't believe you. You know, like you really have to kind of get underneath, and sometimes that's uncomfortable for a coach or a mentor or that. But that is the true gift, is being able to help another human being understand what they are dealing with, because a lot of times we don't. We may be stuck, and we're just stuck, and it feels like this big ball. So if we're able to kind of help them, kind of nudge them of some giving it some sort of name or identifying it. I hope that
actually helps. Identifying giving the fear a name, or
yeah, I mean, like I said a few minutes back, is asking directly, being specific, or leaving them with it. Like, you know what, if you're afraid, that's okay. But if you're resigned and you really aren't open or willing to see it in a new way, then there's nowhere to go. We can give them tools, but it's like you're putting tools on top of quicksand. So we may not know how, or we may be stuck and be like, I'm stuck and I get it, but I don't know where to go. If we can say, I don't know where to go, but I'm open, that there's a place to move forward. If I'm stuck and I don't believe you, or I don't think anything can change, we can't. There's nowhere to go.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like some hard stuff to tackle, and I think it definitely feels like something that some of the mentors may encounter, so that's why I asked that. But it sounds like the best policy is to just, when you realize it, to just confront it straight up and just call it out.
Yes.
In the nicest, most comforting way possible.
Yeah. I mean, again, we're all a little bit out of, I mean, it may take us a little bit out of our comfort zone, but if you're sensing something as a mentor and you've met with them 3 or 4 times, we'll say, you know, you've met with them and there still feels like there's something and you can't really put your finger on it, I think being able to say, which again takes some, you know, it takes something to do, but being able to say, you know, the last 3 sessions or 3 times we met, I keep getting this feeling. Am I on? I would check in. That's the point, because we all can feel something, and if we just kind of skate over it and don't address it, then, you know, listen, for some people that may seem too much as a mentor, but the truth is that we're here to help each other. And if somebody's really genuinely stuck and you can feel it, it's a disservice to not say something.
Right.
I'll add something to that. Eric, when you said, you know, if fear is the the thing that's in the way. For me, I always identify that there's a belief system that they have that's creating all these fears. So then I get them to start talking, well, what are you afraid of? What's holding all these fears together? What belief systems do you have that maybe we can dismantle and realize that every belief system is something you've created anyway, so you can uncreate it and put a new belief system in place that doesn't have fear attached to the failure or the success or whatever it is that's connected to that belief. So trying to get them to pick apart, where did this giant structure of fear come from, and layer by layer get down to, what's really underneath it all, tends to work for me.
I love
Yes.
it.
So, great stuff. Do we have time? Do you guys have time for a few more questions or one more question? We're past 10 here.
One more. I have to leave for a meeting, so I can.
Okay. So the one I had another star next to that I wanted to get in is, and another tough one, is what are some of the most common mistakes mentors and mentees make, and how can we sidestep them if possible?
I would say for me, it's not listening to what the mentee needs. They will tell you exactly what they need if we listen. But if we come with, I know best, here I'm going to tell you something, it might not even match to what that mentee needs. So rather than take I'm the teacher here, I have this whole thing laid out for you, start with ground zero and talk to where are they coming from, what do they need, and from there go forward to creating a plan that works with the two of you.
I agree. I think listening has been by far my greatest tool. Yeah. Because when you listen, you're right. You can hear what's needed. It's the guide. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. One of the tips we have for mentors in our workbook is to be an engaged listener. And it's like one of the things that we pass upon is like, we know you have all these great insights and ideas, but before you try to resist sharing all those in the very beginning and really listen and pull out what your mentee wants, kind of what you were saying, Gabrielle, that they'll tell you, but it's our job as mentors to pull that out and ask questions and then listen and reflect back to them, and instead of trying to clone them based on what we've done, to try to help them solve their questions in the best possible way for them.
If I could add to that, Eric, is that when I'm genuinely listening, and I think a lot of times we get caught up in trying to have the right answer, but when I'm genuinely listening, magic kind of happens, and I'm able to let go of my own, trying to figure things out, and I hear really when you hear really what's going on. I feel like magic kind of comes through me, where I because I'm hearing exactly what's going on, I can give feedback in a way that goes beyond what I think I should say to what really is needed to be said.
And that same tool goes to whether you're mentoring or dealing with a client. I mean, it's all in that problem solving. You have to be present to hear what's really needed, as opposed to imposing your design ethic or your belief system or your tools onto somebody else. Be present and listen. Yeah.
It goes a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, great. I think this is a good place to stop here.
Yeah.
Again, much for sharing your insights and agreeing to be part of this and helping officially
Well, we're cutting out a little bit.
No.
Uh-oh. Eric, we can't hear you.
Gabrielle and Aaron. I freeze.
It's a little better. There you are. Now
All I was doing was thanking you, RaShelle, for being a
oh,
part of this and donating your time and sharing your insights and helping us unofficially kick off the mentorship program and sharing some insights for our mentors. And thank you, Erin and Gabrielle, for being a part of it. RaShelle, any last things you'd like to share before we sign off?
yeah, I just wanted to offer is that if anybody is stuck or wants some feedback or would love maybe some sort of support, my email is open to everybody part of the mentorship program, because I love AIGA and I love this program, and I would love to be able to support if somebody gets stuck or frustrated or just wants some feedback or whatever it may be, that they are welcome to email me, and that's hello@RaShelle, RaShelle, Roberts.com. And then just I have a summer program that's going on, and if anybody is interested, I'm not going to go into the details here, but I do have a summer program. So if maybe a mentor is stuck or a mentee is stuck and really wants help in clarifying the vision, I'm happy to offer that, and at a great rate for everybody who's involved here. And I just encourage everybody to, if they do feel stuck, that they reach out to get support. That's it.
Great. All right.
Thank you for offering.
Well,
yeah.
Thank you so much for everything. I'm going to bid you all fair due. Good luck with your mentorship, and thank you again.
Absolutely. You. Thank you, Eric. Nice to meet you both.
You too.